Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness into you and the storms their energy, while cares will drop away from you like the leaves of autumn. John Muir. Hello, I'm Alex, and this is my History of the Future slidecast on John Muir. Climb the mountains is one of Muir's most famous lines. It's inspired explorers and city dwellers alike to cast out in search of wilderness. Muir himself was a 19th century explorer, botanist, conservationist, and futurist that would have an impact on the United States landscape for generations to come. Born in Scotland in 1838 and immigrated to Wisconsin in 1849, Muir had a strict religious childhood. He eventually set out for college as a young man, where he fell in love with the mountains of California. He wrote journals and correspondences relating the spiritual beauty that he discovered in the wilderness of Yosemite and California. But how does one man's adventures in the wilderness make for his qualifications as a futurist? Through Muir's environmental activism and his extensive work of published journals and articles, Muir was able to influence the creation of Yosemite National Park in 1890. This could only have been done through his detailed reflection and understanding of the 19th century. Muir used his writing as a tool for disseminating the natural beauty of the Sierra Nevada range. His early appreciation for wilderness as a wonder and not unexploitable resource forced him to look towards the future of Yosemite and the Sierra Nevada in the face of 19th century expansion. It is Muir's desire for natural conservation in the wake of modernization that we can classify him as a futurist. By sharing the wilderness that he cherished with the public, it would always remain protected for generations to come. Muir's experience in the mountains and his experience with industrial expansion motivated him to preserve the wild of Yosemite for the future. It is in his 30s, after recovering from an industrial accident that temporarily blinded Muir, that he began to reject the industrial society that he'd grown up in. Overall, Muir felt alienated. He felt like a subordinated individual to the industrial society. And this conflicted heavily with his relationship to God and his relationship to nature. It's thereafter that Muir developed a stronger egalitarian view of man and nature that influenced how he would advocate for Yosemite and the Sierra Club to provide access for national parks. This egalitarianism is thought to be reminiscent of de Tocqueville's arguments of the democratic revolution sweeping the United Continent at the moment. Equality in nature was a revolution to Muir, who saw man as being no greater or more significant than creation around him. Worcester argues that Muir was influenced by the age of abundance and expansion during the Industrial Revolution. This industrial boom spread across the United States and into the unconquered West. The manifest destiny that had sustained exploration and development was being realized. Rail and settlements were moving westward, and it is in this time that the quantification of land had truly begun. Land surveys and effective scientific research were shrinking the idea of the expansive West. Muir wrote about ideas of conservation, especially in the face of Western expansion, in order to preserve the natural beauty that was at risk from an industrial future. In 1890, Muir's writing and descriptions of Yosemite Valley succeeded in passing legislation to protect a large section of the Sierra Nevada. The writing of Muir and his contemporaries was beginning to influence the way that the American public was beginning to reimagine nature. No longer was it a colonist objective to overcome and exploit natural resources, but rather they were being viewed as a commodity that needed to be enjoyed rather than simply dominated. You can see in this engram that we have a pattern evolving between the concepts of preservation, conservation, wilderness, and future. We can see in this graph that there's a greater increase in the 1860s of the notion of wilderness. We can attribute this to John Muir's writings. We can also see that after 1900, the instance of conservation increases dramatically as it continues to move forward in the national parks movement. After the success of Yosemite National Park in 1892, John Muir founded the Sierra Club, a group of people who shared his passion and dedication to the environment. This was a group of wilderness enthusiasts with general political alliances that sought to defend and render the mountains accessible to public viewers. The Sierra Club is now one of the largest environmental activism groups in the United States. They focus on reducing the dependence of fossil fuels and are turning towards the promotion of green energy. The Sierra Club is still involved with making the outdoors accessible, to explore, enjoy, and protect the planet, as their founder would have wanted more than 100 years ago. Muir's evolution into environmental activism can be traced in his dedication and absolute spiritual connection to nature. Viewing the California wilderness as an element to be cherished and not overcome was a significant change in the contemporary perception of the development of the manifest destiny. The way Muir had witnessed the development of the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century made him fearful for its future expansion into his beloved mountain landscape. Dedicated to its protection, Muir influenced the establishment of the preservation of Yosemite as the first national park. As a futurist, Muir was concerned with the future that he saw in industrial development and natural exploitation. In the face of this future, the mountains needed to be safeguarded. The Yosemite National Park has been an example for other nations to set aside significant biospheres for the enjoyment of the public and for future generations. Muir neither predicted nor imagined a future of technological advancements or great human development. Instead, he hoped and planned for a future that would continue to protect and enjoy the spiritual wilderness of the Sierra Nevada.